Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm here to talk today a little bit about being in the right place at the right time, in the right uniform. I'm going to start by reading a passage taken from the book of Esther. Esther was a queen. She was Jewish, and she existed in the time of the Persian Empire. The Jewish people were on the brink of destruction because of somebody who was a higher up who really didn't like them. And Esther found herself in the crossroads where she was in a position where she had the ability to do nothing and sit by the sidelines, hoping that she would be saved because she's a queen, or do something about it and possibly help the Jewish people. This passage talks about that. It's taken from the book of Esther, chapter 4, and this is starting at verse 11. Esther speaking. All the king's officials and the people of the royal provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, the king has but one law, that they be put to death, unless the king extends the gold scepter to them and spares their lives. But 30 days have passed since I was called to go to the king. When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, who's her caregiver and uncle, he sent back this answer. Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. That last verse there, that last line there, for such a time as this. When I hear that verse, it makes me think about being in the right place, at the right time, in the right uniform. And sometimes I don't feel like I am. I don't know about you, but when I was about 75% done with that rub this morning, I was thinking, I don't want to be in this position. I don't want to be in this particular spot right now because I was uncomfortable. Esther was uncomfortable. Maybe it wasn't the ruck for you, but whether it's here or at some point in the future, or maybe you remember, you've been in a place where you have been uncomfortable. But here's the thing. Just like with Esther, because she was called for such a time as this, when she was called upon by God to save the Jewish people, and she did, she was strategically positioned there, and she was unaware of it until someone brought it to her attention that maybe it's not her comfort level that determines if she's in the right place, but maybe it's understanding her relationship with God and that God might have something for her to do. I think that God has something for each and every one of us to do that only each and every one of us can do. There is something that we are uniquely called to. I don't know what that is for everybody, but when we're in those situations when we are in the eye of the storm, when we are in the midst of very, very uncomfortable places, if we remember that God may have put us in that specific place of discomfort to accomplish something according to His will, then it's easier for us to make it through that situation. Sometimes the only way out is through. And if God put us in the midst of a storm, and He's there with us, then that's the safest place to be. Now, I don't know what the temptation to escape that situation may look like for you. Sometimes it's a mindset of quitting. Sometimes it's physically quitting. For Esther, she could have just sat on the sidelines and let the king do his thing and kill all the Jewish people. But here's the kicker, and here's the danger, is that if we ignore our duty to God, if we ignore the calling, if we look at the invitation and see it as an insurmountable challenge, then we actually put ourselves in danger of being on the other side of what God's will is for us. Now, I say that because the fear of the Lord is an important thing, but I also want to end by just inviting us once again to recognize that sometimes the things that we perceive as challenges are actually opportunities. And sometimes when we think that we should figure out, are we in the right place, the right time, the right uniform, based on our feelings, actually the more appropriate thing to do in those situations is to remember, who do I work for? Because if we may be wearing this uniform, but if we have the armor of God on, and God is with us, and He has placed us in that place, then we are in the right place, in the right time, in the right uniform, called specifically by name for such a time as this. Thank you for your time.